Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Fantasy Football Show. Guten Morgen to everyone out there. Looking forward to a weekend and, of course, wanting to get their fantasy football squads ready for match week 14 of the Bundesliga. I'm joined once more by Rune on the other end. How are you this morning? Looking forward to another weekend of Bundesliga footy.
Yeah, it's about enjoying the last couple of match days before Christmas and that break that in one way feels nice, at least if you're writing as many articles about the Bundesliga as I do. But on the other hand, it's you always end up missing the league a lot until it returns. So yeah, it's about enjoying last few games of the year.
Absolutely, yeah. Some big matches to come before the winter break, and teams to make their cases, and of course an opportunity for us fantasy players to make our strides up the fantasy tables, hopefully. So before we get into it, of course, if you can find it in your hearts to leave us a like on the show, that'd be fantastic. Comment along. Let's get some great questions going this morning. Already had quite a few on socials, which is awesome. So we'll get through those and make sure you sub to the channel as well. Make sure you are, of course, following brilliant Bulinews, who, of course, Rune is top man of leading the charge of German football news in English with match previews, match reviews, fantasy football articles, long reads, and all the rest. That is your go-to place for German football news. Lovely stuff. With that in mind, we'll crack on and start with defender picks for this week in the budget, mid-price, and premium category. So I'll hand over to you, Rune, and then we'll run through some questions.
Thank you. Starting off with Luis Obi from St. Pauli as my budget pick. I think he was a player that a lot of managers had in their teams at the beginning of the season. But then obviously things have gone the wrong way for St. Pauli for a long while. But now they have two really important games, manageable games before the Christmas break. Heidenheim at home and then Mainz away. So yeah, if you're going to get a St. Pauli player in your team, then it's probably the time now. And I think Obi is one of the better picks from them, given his low price, but also his attacking involvement as a wingback. Scored a goal against Gladbach in the DFB Pokal, where they advanced, and then they didn't lose last week either. So a few games without defeat for them, something to maybe take a bit of confidence from ahead of that really important 6-pointer against Heidenheim. So good player for the price, I think, this week. And my mid-price pick is Vladimir Šufal from Hoffenheim. Already up to 5 goal involvements in the league this season, 4 assists and 1 goal. And he's proven to be a really reliable fantasy asset, I think. He's on 185 points per game on average, which is quite solid. And what I like the most about him is his consistently high floor. In most weeks, you can expect at least 150 points from him. It's nice to have such a player where you just know that, yeah, he'll deliver most weeks. And of course, Hoffenheim have a good game against the HSV at home this week. So a favorable one there for them. Good option for the price. And then finally, my premium pick is Rasmus Christensen, my fellow Dane. I think Frankfurt are one of the teams that makes sense to target before the winter break. They really need points in the Bundesliga. They're playing Augsburg and then HSV in the next 2 games. They'll look to show a reaction from their terrible defeat to Leipzig last week. I think they already showed sort of a reaction against Barcelona. I know they lost the game, but they showed a very different face in that game, and it was a really professional performance from them there. So already something I think they could take a bit of confidence from, despite the fact that they lost. And Christensen has been performing pretty well most weeks, consistently well. So I think makes a lot of sense to get at least one Frankfurt defender in, and then it's between Christensen and Brown. I think Brown had a really good game against Barcelona too, but fantasy-wise, if you look at the most recent returns, Christensen has been performing better. I do think that Brown probably has the highest ceiling. He is probably a more likely goal scorer, for example, but if you want to play it safe, I think Christensen is the way to go. Brown is a solid alternative, though.
Yes, exactly that. Thank you for those, Rune. Yeah, some good picks in there, and I've been enjoying the returns of Vladimir Soufal so far, and yeah, I think Mark's mentioned he is a bit of a Premier League kind of classic old boy from his West Ham days. So I knew him when he came over to Germany, and he's very much reignited his career, which is lovely to see as well. So yes, question time. So first of all, do you want to pick up this one in the live chat from Away Day Joe? It's a lovely, nice long comment. It almost takes up our entire faces. It's such a big one. So thank you for this, Joe. Good morning to you, and I hope you're doing well and enjoying the show. Hi guys, Rune has been on fire the last few weeks. He's like the Yoda of fantasy Bundesliga. Completely agree there, Joe, very much so. What are your thoughts on Muheim and Dookie? Thinking of holding, but could possibly upgrade one to Mittelstädt as well. So yeah, lovely comment there from Joe. Rune, thoughts on both defenders, and then the possibility of grading to Maxi Mittelstädt, who of course was in action and goal scoring action last night for the VfB.
If you can upgrade one of them to Mittelstädt, I think that's worth considering, just because I think Mittelstädt is one of the top defenders. I could have mentioned him as my premium pick as well, but I've done so many times, and especially now that he's on penalties as well, that increases his value. And yeah, they are playing Werder, Stuttgart, who haven't looked that good lately. Just conceded 3 against HSV. So really good game for Stuttgart as well. But about Muheim and Doki, both have rather tough matchups this week, but at the same time, they usually perform quite well, consistently well, just because of their involvement. With Doki, I could see it being a game where Union stand back a lot, trying to defend against Leipzig, not leaving too many gaps in behind their center backs. So Doki is probably likely to get a decent amount of points from duels, being in the box and hitting the ball away a lot of the time, probably. So even if Union end up losing that game, I could still see him get around 150 points or something like that. He also did well last week, despite the fact that they didn't get a good result there. A bit of the same story with Muheim. Tough game away against Hoffenheim. I think they've played some great football this season, Hoffenheim in general. So probably be tough for them to get a result there, but at the same time, he's just so involved for HSV, taking some of the set pieces, swinging in crosses. So I assume both of them will probably get around, probably between 100 and 150 points. I think that's definitely realistic, even if they both have tough matchups. But with someone like Mittelstädt, for example, you could imagine a 300-point haul if everything goes according to plan and it really clicks for him. So he's sort of in a different category of defenders. So yeah, 2 solid picks with tough matchups. Mittelstädt is a premium pick with a good matchup. So I'd probably sell Doki for him if I were you.
Yep. Lovely question there. Thank you, Joe. Just checking socials then for where we've had questions and fitting them around positions. So nothing on defenders by the looks of it. Just seeing your question, Sard. Good morning to you. I'll get to that in a second. FPL Bromley wanted us to read out his made-up headline, which is a bit more related to strikers, but we'll go through it anyway because it's a good one. So the headline reads, injury shock for Schick, Dent's checks appeal. Very good. I like that. I need to hire you on doing all our headlines, I think. For next week, if you can give me one, then it's on there. Perfect. Thank you for that. Lovely stuff. Sard, good morning, sir. Question from yourself is, what do we think about Gjerulff, prospect Rune from FC Augsburg after their incredible bounce back, their win against Leverkusen last weekend, the start of something new, something fresh, Rune, and therefore maybe an appeal for the Greek fullback.
Yeah, he had an outstanding game last week, and Augsburg in general. That was really surprising. I think that pretty much came out of nowhere. Of course, everyone knew Leverkusen had an important game in the Champions League coming up, but nevertheless, really surprising. But I still think Augsburg are playing Eintracht away. That's a tough game on paper, even if Eintracht aren't at the best at the moment. It is a game that you expect Eintracht to win. So looking at that matchup, I wouldn't necessarily trust Augsburg to do something similar this week, even if that win from last week gave them some confidence. I think it is a game where you expect Eintracht to win and be in possession as well, much more than Augsburg. So I think there are better options, just looking at the matchup alone. The two guys I mentioned from Frankfurt, I know they cost a lot more, but they both have much more potential for me, and are more likely to do well.
Yep, lovely stuff. Also mentioning there that Gjerulff was taken off too early, even when he scored and assisted during that game. So yeah, being protected a little bit there, and maybe slightly off-putting in that sense. Lovely stuff. Another question here, FPL Swans. Thank you for this question. Do we think that Grimaldo has had his rest now and is safe? Obviously we know the rotation that has happened with Grimaldo from time to time, tripping over us Bundesliga fantasy players. Rune, what do we think about Grimaldo's prospects of starting this weekend as well, in a local derby as well?
You said it there. It's a local derby, so Leverkusen will be going all in to win that game. They don't really have any reason to rest him again now. They only have 2 games left. I know they just played in midweek, but he got the break last week. So and plus they really need the points now in the Bundesliga. They slipped to a defeat last week without him. Probably no coincidence. He also stepped up with the goal against Newcastle. So it's just so important for them that I don't think he'll get another rest, especially not on this big occasion, this big day where they'll definitely look to claim the bragging rights. Yeah,
completely agree with these two games to go. No more European contention, cup games. It's just had to be all guns blazing, doesn't it, until the winter break, really. Thank you for that one, FPL Swans. Joe, senior question on Baumgartner. We'll get to that once we've gone through the midfielder picks for you, which is next on our list, which is now on screen for you all. So, Rune, back over to you to run through your midfielder picks.
Yeah, so pretty much 2 budget pick this week with high potential. First of them is Ansgar Knauf, who scored a really good goal against Barcelona. It's really well taken, running in behind and being really clinical with his finish as well. So he's been playing out of position as a striker lately, despite being a midfielder in the game. And his price is really low, as we can see, 4.4 almost. And he's a midfielder. So and as we talked about earlier, Frankfurt desperately need the points. They're playing at home against Augsburg. Good game on paper for them. They need to start picking up points in the Bundesliga, and he's one of their most informed players at the moment. That goal against Barcelona must have given him some confidence. So a really good option for the price, I think, this week. The same can be said for Leonard Carl, who wrote history against Sporting in midweek, becoming the youngest player to score in 3 Champions League games in a row. Could have scored more than 1 goal in that game too. Scored early on, but was chalked off for a really tight offside. So at the moment, he's just very much in form and making a big difference for Bayern, taking a lot of responsibility despite his young age. They're playing Mainz at home. Really, really good game fantasy-wise for Bayern. They don't really have any reason to rest players either with the Christmas break coming up. Mainz have struggled a lot lately, so could turn out to be a big win potentially for Bayern. Diaz is suspended, so he'll be out, which means that Carl will most likely start again. Can't see why they should rest him after that impressive performance against Sporting, and with no more European games coming up, and Diaz out as well. I definitely expect him to start, and for that price, of course, he's just a really attractive option to partner up with Ulisse. But the big question is, I think most people will probably look to get 3 Bayern players in this week, but and you need Ulisse and Kane. So who's the third player going to be? Carl is definitely a good shout. And finally, my premium pick is Ritsu Doan. Question is, do you want him or do you want Knauf and save that like extra 11 million? I think Doan is the top performing fantasy option from Frankfurt, and the most consistent one, reliable one as well. So before their collapse against Leipzig, he had 3 returns in a row with more than 200 points. So given his attacking importance, Frankfurt's appealing upcoming fixtures, I think would be really logical to bring him in this week.
Lovely stuff. Thank you for that, Rune. Some very good picks in there. Big questions around which the Bayern asset people are going to target for the match coming up. Against Mainz. I mean, that doesn't look like a pretty fixture on paper right now for Mainz and Lulfump, based on the fact that they played last night as well. Not as much recovery time. I mean, are they going to have another player sent off? Who's it going to be this week? They're just constantly down to 10 men, aren't they? Anyhow, we'll move on to some questions around midfielders. First one from Joe. Thank you for this. Got burned by Baumgartner last week. So getting him in, but Steg or El Canus, difficult game to call. Good question, Joe. I think, like Rune said, Werder are a tricky team to predict what they're going to do week on week. They seem to have the ability to score goals and win well from time to time, but they can easily get hammered also. Steg is obviously a player that is highly involved, as is Schmidt, as we say on the show, Rune, from an attacking point of view for Werder. El Canus, on the other hand, for Stuttgart, didn't start last night, so came on as a sub when the game was done. Didn't get hugely involved, but again, that was kind of mainly around the way that Stuttgart were playing the game at the time, but did get involved in some nice bits of play. Therefore, gives me more of an inclination that he will start against Werder on Sunday. Difficult call, Rune, and Baumgartner, a player that has been doing well this season as well. Yeah,
sorry about not having Baumgartner last week. I was pleased to have both him and Diomande in my team. Yes. Anyway, I prefer El Canus just because I trust Stuttgart a little more to get a result there. Not been hugely impressed with Werder lately. I think Ilkay is really involved for Stuttgart as well in a more attacking role. They'll probably be on the ball a lot. Just got a rest, so yeah, should be a nailed on starter as well. So yeah, I'll probably pick him. And I think even if I had to pick a Werder player, I'd probably go with Schmid. If you look at Schmid's numbers from the last couple of games, I think they are better than Stay's. He's been getting some good returns, and I think he got 2 assists last week. So I'd probably even rather have him than Stay. But it has to be Ilkay for me, looking at the matchup, because I just trust Stuttgart to get a result there. Are you there, Rory? Okay, looks like Roy lost his connection, so I can just proceed and answer the next question. Hey guys, what do you think about Elmala and Mansambi in tough matchups?
No, it's just on a bit wild. Just bear with us.
Okay, I'll answer the next question about Elmala and Mansambi. I'm sure Roy will be back in a second. I think it's, as you say, both have tough matchups, both are capable of stepping up, both have a bit of X factor. So in principle, they could perform in any game, and that's why I can see why you should consider keeping them. But at the same time, I think that you have some great alternatives at the same price with better matchups this week, such as Lennart Karl, for example. Ansgar Knauf is a great alternative too. So that's something I'd consider. But sure, they're not necessarily bad holds by any means. And yeah, I don't know when Roy will be back, but I can proceed with my striker picks and then see if he'll return. So yeah, they're not at the bottom of the screen. Okay, they're coming now. Great. So okay, hi Roy.
Hi guys, sorry about that. My words, trusty internet issues there. Very, very sorry for those lovely tech issues. I completely probably missed the last minute and a half of that, Rune. So did we get through the question from Aura?
Yeah, I just answered the question and was going to proceed with my striker picks.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Yes, let's crack on.
Okay. Yeah. So my budget pick is Christian Kofane from Leverkusen. Really low price. Looks like he'll start against Köln in that super important derby clash. Patrick Schick picked up a knock against Newcastle. So from how it looks now, he'll probably miss the game. And I've actually been really impressed with Kofane this season. Seems like a very complete striker. Very good in the box. Very good at getting into the right positions and finding way to finish chances. So yeah, a really good option for the price. 2.1 million is really low for a starting striker from Leverkusen. Mid-price pick is Tim Lemperle from Hoffenheim. He's been involved in 5 goals this season, which is decent, and his recent returns have been decent as well, not spectacular low, but nevertheless, I think he's quite a good pick for the weekend. His price is reasonably low, I think, given the role he plays for Hoffenheim and the potential he has. They have a quite good matchup at home against HSV. So I definitely think the opportunity is there for him to deliver. And yeah, just an overall solid pick, I think, for the price. And then finally, Serge Gnabry, who would be my alternative to Lennart Karl for the third Bayern pick. He also had a good game against Sporting, scored and got an assist there. And yeah, with Luis Diaz out, almost nailed on to start on the left for Bayern. His ownership is quite low and his price is not too high either. So an affordable way into the Bayern attack. Of course, he's a striker in the game, whereas Karl is a midfielder, which speaks for Karl. But depends on how you want to put your team together. If you need that, I think a lot of players will probably look to transfer out Diaz because of his suspension, and then he's a pretty obvious replacement. But of course, you would also go with someone like Dennis Undav, and then get Leonard Karl in midfield as your third midfield pick. So that's a tough decision. I think both Gnabry and Karl have huge potential this week. Sort of an argument for Gnabry is that he's, for me, absolutely nailed on to start, whereas I really expect Karl to start as well, but there's a bit of a question mark. They also have Guerrero and Nicolas Jackson. Yeah. So in principle, if Kompany wants to rotate, if he's feeling a bit tired, they have a few alternatives there. Whereas I think with the left wing position, they need a replacement for Diaz, and Gnabry is the only real option for that role. So definitely should start this week, and that's what makes him so attractive.
Absolutely. Yep. Lovely stuff. Thank you for those, Rune. So yes, striker picks done. We'll take any more questions that come in live. So if you've got any striker ones, by all means, do not be shy. Just want to catch up with some questions that I passed on socials. A couple from Trial Bundesliga. Obviously a great viewer and a friend of ours on the show, saying would love to catch the show live but cannot. Saw Rune, your article recommending Gnabry and Diamande. Do you trust them both enough to play a 3-striker formation, presumably with Kane? And how might Undav fit into that equation as an alternative? So I think we've covered the Gnabry and Kane part of that question for you. But yeah, Diamande, Rune just absolutely, again, exploded last week. I mean, his form has been super high anyway, but from a fantasy scoring point of view, last week obviously was a huge haul. Another great option to potentially put into fantasy teams this week also.
Yeah, definitely trust that front trio. I think that's one of the best trios you can field this week. But yeah, funny because I just mentioned Undav as the alternative. The only reason not to play that front trio would probably be if you need that Bayern spot elsewhere, and then I think Undav is a great option. But never under all circumstances, I think 3 strikers this week would work extremely well, and especially if you have Gnabry and Diamande and Kane. That's a very strong front trio that I wouldn't hesitate to field.
Yeah, for sure. Undav didn't have his most clinical evening last night in front of goal. Was a bit disappointed, I think, when he came off. Didn't look super happy, but naturally, Hunes is trying to protect the player. Given that he came off roughly around 60-odd minutes, I think, should start against Bremen, and will look to cash in over the weekend, I think. So still, a very good option for sure. Following on for that, the second part of the question from Trial Bundesliga is curious about thoughts on Stuttgart players in general. So obviously we've covered Maxi Mittelstädt from a defensive point of view. We've obviously said Elkan Noose, Undav as well. Rune kind of struggling for any others that are going to be flying off the shelves from a fantasy point of view. Labeling came off the bench last night, so he's probably an option that would likely start. And has good potential. Not obviously been on super form, but I think in games that I've watched, he's played well, just hasn't got the returns. necessarily. The midfield is being rotated a little bit more between Stiller, Karasor, and Chima. Defensively, other than Mittelstadt, I don't really trust them to hold that many points. Assignon's playing well, but he often rotates with Wagnerman, doesn't he? So I don't think I've missed anyone, Rune, apart from those obvious three that you've already mentioned.
They're definitely the top picks. Jeff Chabot, perhaps, because I think he was rested last night, right?
He was,
didn't start that. So I think we can assume that he'll play, and he's the sort of player who can get a lot of points from one duel. So maybe worth mentioning, but for sure, Mittelstadt, Elkanus, and Undau, those three are the top picks from Stuttgart, and all good picks this week.
Yes, they are. Yeah, absolutely. Agreed. So thank you for those questions on socials as well. I don't think that we've had any others on any other social platform. So we'll leave it at that. No more questions in the live chat either. And that rounds us up nicely from a timing perspective. All there is to say thank you to everyone for tuning in with us once more. Obviously only one show left this winter break, before the winter break. Keep on tuning in, guys. The community that we built on this channel from a fantasy perspective is awesome. Your questions and comments really make the shows for us, and of course Rune's expertise. So thank you all very much for watching. Do make sure, as mentioned, that you like this video. If you've not watched us live, do comment. We always pick them up and answer and give our advice before the Friday night deadline, where we possibly can do. And as mentioned, we are on socials. We're on all social media where we promote all our stuff. Check us out on there, as well as Bulinews and Rune. Thanks all. Thank you, Rune. We'll catch you in the next one, which will be on Monday to review match week 14 of the Bundesliga. Have a lovely weekend. Cheers all.
Bye.